Hello and welcome to ME1120. I am Instructor Carol, and for the workshop you'll be reviewing today, we'll be continuing on our three-part discussion about telephone etiquette and phone skills. For this week, we'll be understanding again more about telephone etiquette and proper communication with our patients. We'll also be speaking about how to improve on our telephone etiquette and make sure that we are giving the best experience to our patients that we can. What is telephone etiquette? Something we've covered before, but always a fantastic reminder. The way you use manners to represent yourself and your business to customers via telephone communication. This includes the way you greet a customer, your body language, tone of voice, word choice, listening skills, and how you close a call. So, in our first two workshops, we spoke about telephone etiquette, some of the key factors that we will be looking for, making sure that we are nice to our patients on the phone, making sure that we're caring, that we're empathetic, that we're using clarity in our speaking, our tone of voice, exactly what it is that we are doing to actively listen to our patients over the phone, and what's necessary to ensure that that phone call is one that the patient knows that they've been provided the best service as possible, and that they can look forward to great patient care once they make it into the office. In continuing the discussion on phone etiquette 101, a few more items that we'd like to cover just to make sure that you have a great understanding on what you'll expect within the workplace, but then also some protocols that you should be following while you're in the workplace as well. Ask before putting someone on hold or transferring a call. Be honest if you don't know the answer. Be mindful of your volume, and also check for and respond to voicemails. All of these are key items that you'll need to make sure that you understand in the workplace. Ensuring that we know that we have someone's permission to put them on hold is key, because many times you'll have a hold that you'll have to put a particular patient on. There might be hold music, there may not be hold music, but at least you'll give them the heads up warning that you'll have to place them on hold, because sometimes you have to research information. Being honest, sometimes we don't always have the answer. Sometimes we have to tap on someone's shoulder to help us out to get an answer for a patient. But you want to let them know up front, you know what, ma'am, sir, I may not have that particular answer for you right now, but let me just get someone to help us further so I can make sure I get you the correct information. Also, being mindful of your volume. So this is key, and it also ties into some of the conversations we've had in previous workshops about understanding the dynamic of your workspace, your work environment. Could be a very small space that you work in, but knowing that many times other coworkers of yours may also be on calls, and information can carry and your voice may carry, so you want to be mindful of that. Also, checking and responding to voicemails. So we should do this multiple times a day, but we'll dive into that a little bit later as we talk about a little bit more on that subject as well. First, ask before putting someone on hold or transferring the call. And really, this is just a common courtesy. It's not uncommon to put someone on hold. It's actually very common. The patient may know that they need to be put on hold, that their call may need to be transferred, but to be polite, just to ensure that the patient knows what's about to take place, is always advised so that they understand they may have an extended hold time. They may hear some transitional music as they're going over to a different department, or simply there may be a hold time because you're researching information for them and they may need to be put on hold, so that you're not simply breathing over the phone or trying to make small talk while you look for information. Also, be honest if you don't know the answer. And I cannot stress this enough. This is a huge part of being in the medical field. One of the key factors of being a medical administrative assistant is being honest. We're not always going to know all the answers. Some answers we can't give out over the phone. So it's best to be honest with the patient so that they understand that while you want to help them, you may not be fully equipped to answer that question. Therefore, perhaps if I could place you on a brief hold for a moment. Let me find out if this is information that I can find for you, or I can get someone to assist us so that you can get a proper answer for your question. These are techniques that are always advised because what we don't want to do is be in a situation where we give someone the wrong information. Giving someone incorrect information can really be detrimental. You never know, if you're just making up an answer, how that answer could affect the decision that that patient on the phone is going to make. So if you don't know the answer to the question, please don't give false information. As we mentioned, never providing incorrect information. Also, don't panic if you don't know an answer. This can happen if you are new and you are in an environment where you're just starting out on the job. You want to make a great impression. You're here to help our patients. You know that you want to do everything that you can to be successful and to make that interaction one that it is outstanding, and that they leave that call knowing that Danica did a fantastic job to make sure that I had everything that I needed. But if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're starting to panic, go back to some of those fundamentals. Ask if you can place your patient on hold. You may have to take a deep breath to calm yourself down, and then you're able to either find someone that can assist you with the answer that they are looking for, or perhaps you'll be able to find the answer yourself. Always be mindful of your volume. And this is really important because there are many individuals, and you may have experienced this in the workplace before, or it could be something that you experience in the future. Voices carry, especially in very small spaces. So you may have a coworker, or it could even be you, that has a very strong voice. And that strong voice tends to carry within the office. Sometimes I've heard, like, it sounds like the sound and the voice it's kind of bouncing off the walls, so it's being heard with inside of the entire office. And we have to be mindful of that for a couple reasons, because one, we do want to make sure that not only are we giving our patients our undivided attention, we also want to ensure that we are protecting their information as well. And this is key because sometimes if you speak a little louder than you typically would, because you may be in a situation where the patient over the phone could be hearing impaired and you may have to project yourself a little bit more, we still want to be mindful of those around us. But even giving just a little courtesy tap to your coworkers, let them know, I'm so sorry, I have a patient that's harder of hearing, so just excuse me for a moment while I try to help them through this call. It's a courtesy, but it's also not just to protect your patient. It protects other patients that may be on the phones with some of your colleagues to make sure that no one's information is compromised. That leads us into protecting our client information. I've been in situations before in an office where I've heard client information or patient information, and I'm pretty sure that I shouldn't have been hearing what was happening. And what was interesting is that I don't think that the assistants at the time really realized the depth of the mistake that they were making. But I did mention it that, sir, ma'am, I actually heard that patient's full information. So I'm pretty sure I shouldn't have heard that, but just wanted to tell you that, we're standing up here to check out from our appointment today, but we can hear everything that you're saying. So imagine if you were the patient on the other end of that line and your information could have been compromised out to people within the office and you didn't even know it. So very important to be mindful of our volumes and keeping our tones of voice very conversational, not yelling or not projecting to the point where it feels like we're screaming or having a breach of patient data that could be happening in that situation. Also, checking voicemails during the day. This is key because if you think about how many calls you get on a daily basis, Not every phone call can be answered at the same time. And I think we understand that. And I think from a perspective of we do our best to make sure that we're getting to all of the phone calls during the day, sometimes you may miss one. The office could be closed during lunch, and that could be a time where a patient's called in and they've had to leave a voice message. One of the things that we've also always been advised to do is to check voicemails during the day. That's helpful because it makes sure that you're getting right back in contact with a patient that may have called to ask a question or make an appointment, or getting back to a pharmacy that could have called because they need verification on a prescription, another doctor's office that needs some sort of verification. So it's important to keep up on those voicemails so that not only are we making sure that our patient's needs are met, if there is some sort of third party that we're acting on behalf of our patient, we need to make sure that those voicemails are returned so that we don't delay any particular care they could be getting outside of our office, a prescription that needs to be filled. So it's important to ensure that we are checking voicemails. One thing that I strongly advise against is waiting to the very end of the day to check all of the voicemails. I've been in situations where I had 45 to 50 voicemails just because it was a Monday and we were super busy that day. If you have to have a schedule within the office where you rotate with another coworker to check messages, perhaps that's something that could happen. But bottom line is you want to make sure that you have some sort of system established to ensure that voicemails are checked so that we can keep up on all of our patients' needs during the day. As always, one of the things that I love to say to all of my students in my classes, we all help to make the patient experience a great one. So let's reflect on what we've spoken about today. The most recent piece of information that we've spoken about is checking voicemails. Something that seems so simple can turn into a very difficult task if it's pushed off until the end of the day. Think about a patient who may have called at 8:30 in the morning because they need to get a prescription refilled. They've gotten down to their last pill. They forgot that it was time to get a refill and they don't have any additional refills left and had to call in the office to get that assistance. Think about if you waited until the end of the day to help that particular patient. We are now in danger of not being able to get that patient's prescription back to the pharmacy. If the pharmacy closes around 6 or 7 o'clock, who's to say that they're going to be able to fill that prescription in the same day? Versus if we would have called the patient back an hour after they contacted us, it would have given the pharmacy a full day to fill a prescription. Think about what we need to do to ensure that our patients' needs are met. Think about what is your overall goal as a medical administrative assistant. It's to help our patients. And that goes without saying. We're going to put our patients first and we're going to do our absolute best to make sure that each and every experience that the patient has is a great one. I hope you've enjoyed the workshop series on phone etiquette and telephone communications. I've had a fantastic time imparting some of this knowledge on you and look forward to seeing you again in our next workshop series. Have a wonderful evening.